All right, so good morning. It's September 8th, and we are going to be talking about Can't Touch Me. That's the title of this lesson today. And it really is. It's a good lesson in this time because it's talking about plagues and things like that they went through. That's why we're in the Old Testament a lot, which fits into today's criteria because we're kind of going through a plague or the virus or whatever we're calling this thing that we have today. So what is happening today? Right, so we've got like I said, the plague, the viruses, right, going on out there right now. And what is a plague or a virus? A plague is anything that afflicts or troubles, calamity, any contagious epidemic. Okay, so a lot of people get worried, like with what's going on today. If we're just referring to the whole COVID and all that, there's a lot of fear. There's been that for 6 months now. I know some of you may not, you're like, whatever, you have your own feelings on it, but there is a lot of fear. There's been a lot of fear driven in the direction of COVID. And one thing, no matter what it is, whether it's COVID, whether it's family going through whatever, no matter what it is, we have to remember that God is seated on the throne. And what that means is when you say God is seated on the throne, that means God is just sitting there. He's not standing up. He's not pacing back and forth, which means he is not stressed about anything. He's got it all under control. He's just, in other words, God's just sitting there chilling. He knows what's going to go on and happen, right? He's got everything under control, okay? He is not stressed at all. And it's our job as leaders to lead, right? And we're not impacted by the opinion or the popular opinions of what's going on, no matter what's happening out there. Right? It's our job just to lead and do what we're called to do. And then anybody want to throw out what we are called to do?
Great Commission.
There you go. There it is. That's it, right? We're supposed to bring in the lost, make disciples, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Nothing changes here. Okay? So if we can, I think it was Randy, you had Exodus 14, 13 through 14.
Yep.
Go for it.
Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You will need only to be still."
The last part of that, right, is the key there. The Lord himself is going to fight for you, right? Again, he's not worried about anything. A lot of people, we had about 3-4 months ago when we first started this call, I think the first couple lessons we did was on stress and how to overcome stress and deal with it. It's not something we should be, stress doesn't fix anything. Sit there worrying and all that does not do anything. There's no action behind it, right? But the Lord himself will fight for you. You just be still, put your faith in him. It's going to happen, right? So I love that. So God's job is to fight for us. What's our job? Our job is just to stay calm and believe in him, know he's going to do it, and pray and have faith and all that. That's our job. God's people are protected from everything, including plagues in the Bible, right? They were protected from that, right? And that's the whole, they put the blood, they put the blood and it passed over, the plague passed over them, right? But no weapon shall come against us, right? No weapon shall come against me is the verse in the Bible, right? Because God's got it under control. He's got us against anything the enemy's going to throw at us. We have to know, right? No matter in the time we're going through it, we might be like, man, what's going on? Can I make it through? It's going to be okay. Just think back, right? I know a lot of times when we're going through something, like in that moment, it's the worst thing ever. But if you really just think back and like, oh, I've gone through worse than this. I've always come out of it. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out, right? God's going to handle it. Okay. Exodus 10:23. Is that Patrick?
The Egyptians could not see one another, nor did anyone rise from his place for 3 days. For all the Israelites had natural light in their dwellings.
So we are at, did someone say something? No? All right. Right now we are in a season where God is drawing a line, right? So imagine this. God is drawing a line down, and he is separating the weak from the strong and the righteous from the unrighteous. Right? This is the time that's happening, right? You know, you hear a lot of people when things start getting crazy and there's a lot of chaos going. Everybody, you know, goes to, is this the end time, right? I've heard people say right now, this is not the end time, but it's the beginning of the end time. You hear a lot of that right now. What this is saying is God right now is really just drawing a line. He's starting to separate, right? He's starting to separate the ones that are called, right? The weak from the strong, the righteous from the unrighteous. That's the time that we're in right now. Okay. If you're on the righteous side, you don't worry about the other side, right? You don't have to worry about what's going on over there. Right? You don't have to stress about any of that. You're on the right side. Okay. Numbers 16:48. Cleanso.
He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped.
Okay. So even though I just said if you're on the righteous side, you don't have to worry about the other side, that just means you don't have to stress about yourself and what's going on, but it doesn't mean you don't care for the people on the other side, because we still got to win them, right? Because we got to win the loss and everything. Okay. So that's the church's job. It's the sand in the middle to pull the unrighteous from that side to the righteous side, right? So that we're there to help them, right? It's like if someone's fallen, right? Grab onto them, you hold them, you pull them up. That's what we're called to do right now. That's what the church is called to do. So the church is in the middle of the line, pulling people over, right? Saving people. That's what we're doing right now. Okay. That's why the church is here to lead. You know, a lot of things have happened over these last 6 months. There's been a lot of, you know, churches shut down, right? There's been a lot of, you know, this back and forth on that. You know, churches doing only online for a while, even, you know, scared to open up because of government stuff like that. At the end of the day, the church is here to lead, right? The church is to be the leader here. Okay, so remember, in our society, fear sells, right? That's what gets ratings, right? That's what all that fear, right? We've said this for years. You turn on the news, how often do you see any good news when you watch the news? It's never, right? It's all car accident, wrong way driver, shootings, it's everything bad is all the news is, because that's what gets people's attention. Fear drives up ratings, so that's what they're going to push. So in our society, fear is a sales tactic as well. So you're going to see that push out there. We don't want to be in a reactive state, but a proactive, right? So we as individuals, we as the church, us as leaders, we want to be we don't want to be in a reactive, we want to be in a proactive. So take this, for example. What happens in flu season? What are you told to do? Right? In flu season, to keep yourself healthy, right? You want to load up with, like, we'll just say vitamin C or vitamins, whatever, to keep your, why are you doing that? Because you know it's coming. You're trying to be in a proactive so you don't get sick, right? The opposite of that is wait till you get sick, then take whatever medications. Now you're trying to get over the sickness, right? That's the difference. So that's the example there. So we want to be in the proactive state. So here's point number 1. Okay, the church needs to practice leadership, not reactionship, right? That's what we want to do, right? We want to be ready, right? We want to lead from the front. You hear that all the time. Okay, so a couple more verses. I'll have some other people read. So if we can start with Exodus 11:10. Who wants to grab that one? Exodus 11:10, Paul. Okay, got it. Okay, the next one's going to be Exodus 8:22 and 23. Who wants to grab Exodus 8:22 through 23? Burge, all right. And then we've got Exodus 12:35 through 36. Randy, got that one? Okay. And there's a lot of verses here. Malachi 3:11. Let's grab Malachi 3:11. Alex, can you grab that one? Got it? Okay. All right, we'll stop there for now. Okay, so let's go back. Exodus 11:10.
So
Sorry, I was on mute. Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders before Pharaoh, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go out of his country.
Okay. So what this verse is saying, so when I summarize this, it says God wants to perform miracles. Okay, so when everyone else sees a crisis, God's performing a miracle. That's positioned himself to perform a miracle. Okay, what is a miracle? Right? Usually a miracle is a sign, and it's intended for the unbelievers, right? Because that is a way to show that God exists, right? Because they're unbelievers. Do the believers need miracles? Not technically, according to the lesson, no. Right? Now, I don't mean that we don't need miracles to happen in our lives, but we don't need them to believe in God because we're already believers, right? But the signs and miracles really are geared towards the unbelievers there. Exodus 8:22 through 23.
That was me, right?
Yeah.
8,
Yep, go for it.
22 through 23.
Yeah, 8:22 through 23.
This time I will spare the region of Goshen, where my people live. No flies will be found there. Then you will know that I am the Lord and that I am present even in the heart of your land. I will make a clear distinction between my people and your people. This miraculous sign will happen tomorrow. And the Lord did just as he had said. A thick swarm of flies filled Pharaoh's place and the house of his officials. The whole land of Egypt was thrown into chaos by the flies.
Okay. So it's talking about the plagues again, right? But one key portion here, and if you read Exodus 9:4, we'll skip that for now, but it also continues with the same message there, and talking about the word distinction, which you heard him say. The Lord will make a distinction. Hey, just like we talked about, we're going to draw a line down. We're going to have two sides. There's a distinction of the two sides there, right? That we started off talking. So the Lord will make a distinction, which no plague has a chance. They can't touch us, right? And this verse might be talking about a plague. You can put that on coronavirus or whatever, but you can also put that into any tool or tactic that the enemy has, right, to come against us, to come against our family, to come against anything, right? We have the distinction there to come against it, right? We've got God on our side. Exodus 12:35 through 36. Read that one? Exodus 12:35 to 36. Was that you, Randy? Yeah, go for it. You're on mute.
I sounded great. The Israelites did as Moses instructed and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people and gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians.
Yeah, so they're talking to the Israelites come in, they're talking to the Egyptians, asking them for things, and all of a sudden the Egyptians look favorably on them, start giving them all the stuff, right, helping them out. Just as in, if we apply that to us too, what is it that God looks on us? He looks favorably on us as well, right? He's going to help us out. He's going to guide us. He's going to give us the things that we need in the right moments that we need them, okay? Because God always has and always will defeat the enemy. Right? A couple of weeks ago, we talked about people want to say and talk about, it's God versus Satan, right? Good versus evil. Well, that's right. Good versus evil is right, but God versus Satan? No, that would mean that Satan's a competitor. We talked about that. Satan is no competition for God. God's already cast him out once, and he can kind of do what he wants with him at any time. There's no competition. So God has always and always will defeat the enemy. He'll defeat any plague or virus, right? He is undefeated when it comes to any attack from the enemy, right? So now Malachi 3:11, I think that was you, Alex.
Yes, Malachi 3:11. Your crops will be abundant, for I will guard them from insects and disease. Your grapes will not fall from the vine before they are ripe, says the Lord of Heaven's armies.
Okay. And the summary from this is the enemy, the attacks from the enemy, any virus, plagues, again, nothing the enemy throws, none of the tactics that he throws can stop the victory that we have, right? We will always have victory because God shows up in the midst of a dilemma, right? And just like we talked a little bit ago, he shows up in the midst of a dilemma, and what does he do? It's called a miracle, right? He performs a miracle, right? Pulls us out, whatever the case would be, whatever it is we're going through. That's what happens there. All right, point number 2. Limit our input of fear, is we need to limit our input of fear and increase our intake of faith. Okay, so in Romans 12:1-2, it talks about us just not copying the behaviors of the world, right? So I'll just summarize that now. Don't copy the behaviors of the world. Don't follow the world, right? And their views and everything there, right? We want to follow God. We want to stay on that right path. So don't copy the behaviors of the world. Okay, so what are we scared about? If something happens, we get to go see. I like this. I actually heard this when, we'll go back to like the Corona thing when everybody at the beginning, people were scared and feared, not knowing what was going on. I actually heard, I think it might have been Pastor Jenny, maybe when we did Freedom Night here back in, I think it was June, it would have been June. She goes, I'm not afraid of any corona or anything. If it wants to come and take me out, I just get to go to heaven quicker. Right? That's it. Right? If God's got his time no matter what for me. And if it's that he sent to take me out, fine. Right? It's whatever it is, right? And that's what it says here as well. What are we scared about? If something happens to us, we just get to go see Jesus quicker. That's all it is. Okay? Shortens our time here, lengthens our time there. So again, be informed. Here's a good one. Be informed by the news, but be transformed by his news. Okay, so be informed by the news if you want to. This is the news. We just talked about the news, though, how it's pretty much about all the negative stuff anyways. But if you want to get information from the news, that's fine, but you got to be transformed, your mind transformed by his news. Okay, and then going to the last point here. Point number 3. We overcome plagues by prayer and God's presence. That's how we overcome anything, right? Any trial we're going through, right? Again, we're going in the Old Testament today, so plagues is kind of the topic that it's using. You got to apply that to anything, any trials, any issues, right? Problems you're having, family problems, marital problems, anything, financial problems. You can overcome that by prayer. Right, in God's presence, getting with him, getting the word of what you need to do, direction, all that. All right, so let's remember this. We are still a nation under God. That means we are above, not beneath. Blessed, we are blessed in, and we are blessed. We're blessed going in, we're blessed going out. We are a nation under God. We have to remember that. God's got us. Okay. When we are a church or a nation that prays, there is no plague or tactic of the enemy or any device from the enemy, anything that has a shot against us, right? And we're really excited. We know I didn't talk about this on the announcement, but we've got School of Purpose that some of you guys are going to be going through. That's just another time we're going to be getting in the word, learning, praying more. You guys, this is just strengthening the church is what's going on right now. Okay, so the enemy has no shot against us. The church is filled with power and faith, and this is the time right now that we're in and we've been in. This is the time for the church to rise up, right? We talked about at the beginning. It's time for the church to rise up, for the leaders to rise up, to lead in this moment. This is what God's been preparing us for, okay? To rise up, the leaders to rise up. Okay, in Exodus 12:13, again, it talks about there the distinction. He's mentioning the distinction again. And we'll go back to this distinction between the righteous and the unrighteous, the line drawn in there, okay? So this is what God's been preparing us for. There is no bad news. No bad news should ever overcome the good news in our lives. I think that's key. We always hear, right? I'm going to use a stupid example here, okay? We go to a restaurant. We go there for 10 years. The service has always been great, right? Food's great. We go there one time. service is horrible and the food is not cooked correctly. What happens? That overcomes our mind, right? It's like all the good that we've had, all the good experience there, out the door, right? We always hear the bad outweighs the good a lot of the times, and people's opinions and things like that, right? So we got to stop that from happening, right? We should have no bad news in our lives, right? Life's going great. We've got all these positive things. We got a great family, a healthy family, right? And maybe we come to a point where finances are tough, right? And then we just think that everything's going wrong. Why, God, my life is so horrible. No, your life is great. You've got a blessed life. You're just going through a season right now. But that bad news should never overcome the good news in our lives. So we got to remember that. And we got to apply, just like I talked about before, apply the blood of Jesus over our homes, over our family, over our kids, where the enemy cannot penetrate your household, right? This is the time, like I said, this is the time that we've been prepared for, guys. And just like Pastor talked on Saturday as well, to the men, this is their time, right? We got to rise up. We got to be the leaders of our home, right? It's our time. It is not our time to back up, right? Not our time to take a step back. It's not our time to get thrown off and be like, whoa, what's going on? And you start to step back, get in a defensive. No, it is our time to move forward and closer to God. So, man, we are in the moment God is preparing us for. Remember, the line has been drawn. You just got to decide, what side are you on? We know what side you guys are all on, right? But let's make sure we're on that side. Hey, we're on the righteous side, but we're also standing in the middle, right? We're just not sitting over there to the side saying, okay, I'm good. We're in the church, right? As Pastor said on Sunday, we are the church, right? So we got to be in the middle as well, because we got to be pulling over the people that are on the other side, pulling them over, saving them, pulling them over, okay? And God will protect us. He's always going to protect us, our family, and our finances, guys, as long as we continue to believe, follow him, do what's right, guys, and just prepare your hearts. We've been talking about, came off a lesson of getting in the word, right? Are we getting in the word daily? Are we filling ourselves, our spiritual being, daily with the word of God, right? That's what we've got to be doing. But this is our time. So that's it. That is today's lesson. I just love the title because it says, what is it? Can't touch me. I always, when I read that, I thought of, what's that song? Isn't it MC Hammer? Can't touch this. So you can't touch me, but it's true. The devil, right? The enemy, no matter what tactic he has, can't touch us, right? There's angels guarding us at all times, right? They're surrounding us. Like the only way he can touch us is if we allow him to. You guys got to remember. So when you're going through something, you're like, man, why is this happening? Think back. What door did you open? What did you recently do? You allowed him at some point to do it. He's got to go figure out what it is, close that door, ask God to show you what that is, and close that door, because the angels are there surrounding us to protect us where the enemy can't come in. They can't get us. So